Hello everyone and welcome back to Aunt Susie's Kitchen. Today I'm really excited because we're going to make one of my most favorite desserts in the whole world, and that is tiramisu. I mean, seriously, who doesn't love tiramisu? With the crunchy lady fingers soaked in just the right amount of alcohol and coffee, layered in between pillowy, soft, almost mousse-like mascarpone cheese. Let's go over these ingredients so we can get started. I have 1 pound of mascarpone cheese. You can use your favorite. This is the brand that I use. I also have 6 eggs. We're gonna separate those. These eggs are cold. We'll talk about why in a minute. I have 1.5 cups of strong coffee, a 1/2 cup of ice cubes. I've got separated here is my sugar. I have 1/2 cup here and 2 tablespoons here because we're going to use those separately throughout the recipe. And I also, of course, I have my lady fingers. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to get my liquid put together. And all I'm going to simply do is put the coffee in a nice bowl that's shallow but big enough for me to dip. And to that, I want to add the 2 tablespoons of sugar. This coffee, I might add, is hot. Of course, you brew coffee, it's hot. And I purposely am leaving it a little bit on the warm side so I can dissolve the sugar. And now that's the reason why I have ice cubes instead of water. This recipe needs to be put together cold. Normally we cook with, room temperature butter, room temperature eggs, but not when we're making tiramisu. And the reason for that is because we are using raw eggs. And that is a traditional tiramisu recipe, calls for raw eggs. Have that mixture. You see that the ice cubes dissolving. Now, I have here my coffee liqueur. Now, you can use whatever kind you want. I'm using Kahlua, which is, a very well-known coffee liqueur, and that's 5 tablespoons. Again, this you can adjust to taste. Some people like stronger coffee, some people like less alcohol, but this is my ratio that I found to be everyone's favorite, and it's not overly sweet, it's not overly, loaded with alcohol. It has just the right mixture. So I'm gonna take this now, and I'm actually going to go and put it in the refrigerator until we're ready for it. Now, the next step is I want to go ahead and separate these eggs, and I want to put the whites in one bowl, and I want to put the yolks in another. And you want to be really careful not to get too much yolk in with your white because it makes them difficult to whip up later. Any kind of fat on your egg whites will cause them to deflate. And I'm actually going to put my whites in the refrigerator until I am ready for them. Okay, so I have my egg yolks, and I have my hand mixer. You don't have to take your big mixer out for this. I mean, you certainly can if you want to, but it's really not necessary. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to beat these egg yolks with the 1/2 cup of sugar until they are nice and pale and aerated and fluffy. Okay, that's perfect. Look at how beautiful that is. And all of the sugar is dissolved. And so now I'm going to add the mascarpone. And again, the mascarpone is cold, just like all the other ingredients that we're using. And then we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna incorporate all of that beautiful mascarpone in there as well. Okay, that is perfect. Look how beautiful that is. Completely incorporated. I scraped the bowl down once in between because you want it to be nice and smooth. You do not want to leave any lumps at all inside there. Look how nice and smooth that is. Okay, so I'm gonna clean this up. I'm gonna go ahead and get this in the refrigerator, and then we're gonna go ahead and get those egg whites whipped. Okay, so let's go ahead and whip these egg whites, and what we're looking for are nice soft peaks. Okay, I think we're good. Let's take a look. Here's how you're gonna know. See that peak? Can you see that? Nice and soft. It's not too stiff. Has a little bit of movement to it. And you noticed while I was whipping, I kept moving the bowl around. And that's important because sometimes the whites want to separate the frothed ones from the unfrothed ones. They want to separate from themselves, and they'll leave some liquid down on the bottom. So we wanted to make sure that we didn't have that happen, and that's why I kept moving it. I kept tilting the bowl to the side, making sure that most of the liquid fell to the bottom in a well, and making complete contact with the beater onto the bowl itself while I kept it moving. So now that we have these whites whipped, I'm going to go into the refrigerator and I'm going to grab that cream mixture that we made. So I have that cream mixture and I have the whites, and I'm actually going to put the whites into the cream mixture a little bit at a time until they're completely incorporated. The first one always seems the most difficult, and you want to fold it. You don't want to, mix it up really hard, because then you're going to deflate those whites. And you really need those whites, because just like any other kind of mousse that you make, you rely on all of the air in those whites so that when this sets up, it finishes to a nice pillowy, soft consistency. And that's what we're looking for. So then I'm just gonna, continue to incorporate about a fourth at a time and slowly, slowly add those whites in. And just like that, you have the lightest, most fluffy, pillowy, soft filling. So I'm going to put this in the refrigerator. See a pattern developing here? Just keeping everything cold as we get these layers put together. And then my favorite part is coming up. I'm gonna go grab those lady fingers and that beautiful dipping mixture that we made and put this all together. Okay, so I grabbed the container that I want to make this in. Now, if I were making this for my home, I would just grab a really pretty dish. This is an aluminum foil pan, and I'm going to use this because I am taking this somewhere to enjoy it, and I don't have to worry about bringing home or having to worry about my container being broken. And what I love about this, you can get these at any store, aluminum foil pan, and it comes with a nice see-through lid, so it makes it safe to travel with. Let me put that to the side for a second. And I just want to talk about the lady fingers real quick as I get them ready and take them out of their package. You may have noticed, if you've ever used lady fingers before, that they have two sides to them. One side is sugared and the other side is not sugared. And when I dip them and I line them in the pan, whoops, some of them are broken. That's going to happen. Don't worry. That's why you always have more than you need in a package anyway. Getting back to these, there's two sides. This is the sugared side and this is the not sugared side. When we dip them, as we let the excess drain off, we're gonna lay these in the pan, sugar side down. And that's so that they don't get overly soggy. So dip it in there. Obviously, make sure your hands are clean. Shake off the excess. And then you just wanna go ahead and start lining that pan. Okay, so that's the first layer. Now, I have cleverly used my mixing bowl that has cup measurements on the side. So I know that I now have 6 cups of finished cream. And what I'm gonna do is put half of that, which is 3 cups, over the top of these lady fingers. Let's see, how does that look? A little bit more. Perfect. I'm just going to use an offset spatula. I want to make sure now that I am getting this evenly spread over every single surface of these lady fingers. I don't want any gaps. There we go. And then I'm going to tamp it down just a little bit because I want it to fall down into any little areas where there might be air pockets. Because like I said, when this sets up, it's going to set up nice and firm and be one complete finished sheet pan. And you'll be able to actually cut it into slices and take a nice slice out and have nice clean edges. So it's important. So you had a little bit of air, a little air bubble come up there. Let's see if we have any more. Nope, I think we're good. Okay, on to the next layer of soaked ladyfingers. Okay, so that's all the ladyfingers, and I kind of feel like I got punked here. Did you happen to notice that just about every single ladyfinger out of the second package was broken? Like somebody kicked them down a flight of stairs or something, I don't know, but that was fun. Okay, so I'm going to use the last of the cream. And then you know what, I want to show you something. Because I could imagine, I remember when I first started making this, and I always wondered if I soaked my ladyfingers enough, or did I soak them too much, or whatever. So here's a good way. Let me just show you this really quickly before I forget. And take a ladyfinger, and this could be your test ladyfinger, and you can kind of count while you're doing this. And then when you think you have it soaked enough, break it open and look at the inside. You see that? You see the ring around the outside? So the ring around the outside is actually the coffee mixture, and the hard part is still, doesn't have any mixture on it at all. So what I would say is if you counted 5 or 6 seconds for this, then maybe 7 or 8 seconds would really be better off, because that would give you a better soak. So let's see. Do this one a little bit longer. And of course, remember, they're gonna sit, and as they sit, the liquid's gonna evenly distribute, but that's much better coverage there. And like I said, as they sit, any that are not evenly soaked will become evenly soaked. So, you know, experiment with that, test out 1 or 2. I don't know if you noticed or not, but I came dangerously close. In fact, I wound up having to make on the fly really quickly a little bit more coffee mixture, because I ran short, like by about maybe a 1/4 cup, which is not common. So maybe I didn't properly measure out the ice. And with the ice, like I said, it was a 1/2 cup of ice, and I weighed it actually, so it was 4 ounces of ice, but I don't know. I did something. Maybe these ladyfingers were a little bit fatter than I usually use. I don't know, but it's not the end of the world. I just made a little bit of coffee, and I put, you know, some more of the other ingredients inside it, and I had a little bit more mixture. So that's what happens when you cook for real. Sometimes things don't always go as planned, and you have to be willing to improvise and not freak out if things don't go always the way you expect them to. So no one will be any worse for the wear. Okay, so that looks really good. I'm gonna get a damp paper towel, I think, and maybe just clean up the edges a little bit. And then the very last thing that we're gonna do to this is we're gonna give it its traditional signature tiramisu look. And I'm gonna grab some cocoa powder. We're gonna put a nice layer of cocoa powder on top, and then we're gonna get this in the refrigerator to set up. We are ready to give this its signature look, which is just a dusting of a little bit of cocoa. And I have a fine mesh strainer here, just a small handheld one, and I have some cocoa. You can use your favorite. I try not to use a special dark for this because I don't want it to be very heavy. So something else you can do if you want it to really get fancy is you can put a little bit of chocolate curls on here. So just take a chocolate bar, make sure it's nice and cold, and either use a potato peeler or the back of a spoon and just kind of peel off nice shavings and layer them on top. But this is pretty much the traditional way that tiramisu is made. And I'm gonna go ahead now and I'm gonna get this in the refrigerator, and it's going to chill overnight. If you make it early in the morning, I would say a good 8 hours is enough time, but if you're making it later at night, put it in the refrigerator overnight, and the next day it'll be ready. After an overnight rest in the fridge, there's only one thing left to do. Look at those beautiful layers. Let's see if it tastes as good as it looks. My goodness, just like I remember it. The right amount of cream, and I can taste the coffee and all of the delicious notes in the back from the coffee-flavored liqueur. This is definitely a winner, and I really recommend you get in the kitchen and make this for your family. So that wraps up another great recipes. Thanks so much, guys, for coming by and visiting with us. Make sure you check us out on social media. We're Aunt Susie's Kitchen on Facebook, Aunt Susie's Kitchen on Instagram, and of course here on YouTube, we're Aunt Susie's Kitchen. Hit the like, leave us a comment, let us know you were here, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss a video. Thanks again. We hope to see you soon because there's always something good cooking in Aunt Susie's Kitchen.